How many
Right.
women in
Yeah.
particular want to make their partners and their families and everybody else happy? Well, it's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be able to step out of that one.
Right. That's very wise because, you know, we all think when we get into relationships of any kind
Yeah.
that we have to hold it together. We have to be the glue. We have to make everyone happy. Things have to go according to some plan.
Yeah.
And that's part of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can't take responsibility for anyone else. Everyone's got to take responsibility for themselves.
And the fact of the matter is that when you take responsibility away from somebody, you're doing them a disservice. And I think this is something that we really should pay attention to, because when I try to fix somebody else or when I try to make somebody else happy, I'm taking some of their power away from them and assuming, in my arrogance, that I can actually make a difference.
Yeah.
And as coaches, you know, I'm happy to give advice and I'm happy to ask questions, and the bulk of my, not the bulk, but a lot of my book is about questions. Because here's what I like to say: we all have the answers. You already know what's good for
Right.
you.
Exactly.
You already know what you should be doing. But what you don't have is the right questions to unlock those answers. And that again becomes turning the obstacles into opportunity.
Great. Oh, very exciting stuff here. Really, it's really exciting. So tell us, what does fear mean in a lot of
Well, we
different
could say it's
ways?
false expectations appearing real, or we could get
Okay.
rude and say everything and run. But I think that it really is made up. I think fear is an excuse. I think we like to use it as a crutch for not making improvements in our life, a crutch for not moving out of relationships that don't work. I feel very strongly about this. A lot of people would disagree with me, but fear is not real until you have some tangible evidence of it. And most of the time it's imagination based.
It is imagination based, but what if people truly believe that it's real, which they do? I
Yeah.
mean, you know, whatever that might be, and you listed, you know, the 5 of them, and I'm sure, you know, I get clients that have a fear of networking, again, being rejected. People believe these fears.
That's right, but it's a
And-
mental job.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course it is. It's all, well, everything is in the mind. So, you
Starts
know.
with the thinking, you know,
Right.
it's like change your thinking, you
Exactly.
change your life. You've
Exactly.
heard that before.
And it takes some work to really turn that vessel around.
There are things you can do, though. I mean, I have a little exercise that I give my clients, who specifically those who are really bogged down in their negative thinking. And I'll say, I want you to keep a list of, or a stack of index cards. And I want you to write down on one side the negative thought, or whatever that might be. And then you're going to flip it over and you're going to write the opposite. You're going to write down the positive thought. And you're going to use that positive side as the reinforcement, because we're really resetting the brain. That's ultimately
exactly right.
what it is. You know, we have a new study of the brain in recent years called neuroplasticity. You're never too old for change. Take it from 2 old brides here.
Okay. More seasoned would be.
You gotta have a sense of humor about this stuff, otherwise
No,
you're really
it's
done in.
true. It's true. But, you know, we've done this. We've coached people. But, I mean, I had a lot of fears. I was fear-based for many, many, many years.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot.
It takes a lot of commitment. I did something when I first started working, because I started this business actually when I was 54. So,
Wow.
you know, I mean, this is not something I've done all of my life, although
Right.
I've been giving advice and
Right.
coaching for a long time, but professionally since I was 54. So we're looking at the last...
All right. Whatever.
Yeah, whatevers.
Right.
Um,
Last year.
We just look good for our age. That's the deal. And what I created in the beginning was something called the Passion Program. And here's the 7 steps to putting passion in your life. First of all, you got to give yourself permission. You give yourself permission to make the changes you need to make, which is really part of that commitment to the changes you got to make. Then when you start giving yourself permission, you got to take action, because if you don't take action, nothing happens. You just sit there with the stuff running in your head, and there it is. So when you start taking action, you discover your strengths. And as you discover your strengths, start getting the support you need, because you start asking for it, and people start noticing, and they're really willing to give you a little bit more. And as you start developing the confidence that comes out of that, you get inspired. You want to do more. You want to engage more. You want to bring people into your circle who are really successful and effective. And then you own it. And that really is the confidence factor right there. So when you start owning who you are and defining yourself today's terms, not the past, not the future, but today's terms. And then lastly, you got to nurture it. You got to take care of yourself. And that means doing whatever you need to do in order to give yourself the loving and caring that you need, so that ultimately you can give more out. And that for me is passion.
Right, absolutely. You know, it's all starts with caring about you, and when you start coaching with someone and you say you have to love yourself, it's an inside job. They say, huh? What? What are you talking about? They don't get it until one day, you know, I've had clients come back and say, God, you're right. I said, okay, what took you so long? But people look for external validation, which is a very slippery slope. And we go over that with clients, that it's nice to get acknowledgement. It's great. But you have to believe it in yourself.
That's absolutely
because if all it is external, at any given moment, it can be taken
away from you.
Exactly.
That's right.
You could lose, and then you're left with, who am I? But if you have it, and I work with core values with clients, which is the foundation for who they are. If they were butt naked,
absolutely,
and there were no attachments, no labels, who would they be? Which is what nobody can take away.
That's exactly right.
And, you know, it takes people a while. It took me a very long time to, and probably
took
you
me a
as
long
well.
time too. I mean, there's no shortcuts to this.
No,
you know, if
there
you're just
isn't.
starting this journey of change and transformation, I'd like to say I could wave the magic wand and, you know, you'd be fine tomorrow.
I
but
say that all the time.
it doesn't work that way. It is about process, and it's about showing up for you. It's not because you want to get better for somebody else. It's because you want to get better for you. And now, right now, you might find that you're, you know, just fine the way you are. There's nothing for you to change, and I say, great. But if you're unsettled, if you feel like there's something that needs to shift in your life, then you got to do the work. And that work just means showing up on a daily basis for you, because self-love is self-care. And there's no such thing as selfish, because if you get locked down into, well, if I take care of myself, I'm being selfish. This is a huge issue, especially for women.
I hear this all the time, and we talk about being selfish and self-interest. It's a big difference, and for a lot of women especially, they go to the selfish part rather than the self-interest part.
And where that comes from is, I don't deserve it. And I think that this is really at base of all of this stuff, is that, you know, I don't deserve to feel better. I don't deserve to be better. I don't deserve your love. I don't deserve whatever it is that you're seeking in life. And that, I think, is a huge issue that we need absolutely to keep working on.
I think it's one of the universal issues that threads through many clients. When you get underneath it, I don't deserve it, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not valued. And again, those are just beliefs.
Absolutely.
That somewhere way back when, they took something or some things, and they put it upon themselves to take in that, which was totally a belief. That's all it was, you know, a preconceived notion.
Well, I'll give you a good example of that. I grew up with an alcoholic father who was also physically abusive, and I learned at an early age from his lips that I would never amount to much. And a couple of years ago, I was standing in front of an audience of FBI agents doing a presentation, and I said, my father said I would never amount to much. Well, guess what, Dad? You were wrong.
Is this a time to make someone wrong?
You want to be wrong? Fair. I'm not going to blame him. I'm just going to tell him he was wrong.
Well, and you know, and I think part of that is you have to go back again and look at their generation and how they grew up, and then how they grew up and how they grew up.
And this is what we were saying earlier about the
Yeah.
conditioning. It gets passed down from generation to
Yes,
generation.
exactly.
I like to say either you're living in someone else's epic novel, i.e. Tolstoy's War and Peace, or you're creating your own story. You're the author of your own life. And, you know, our stories do define us. But the bottom line is, from this point onwards, it's just stories. This is stuff that happened, you know, and I have the emotional charge from it, and I have the thought processes that evolved out of it.
Sure,
But
absolutely.
I'm making a choice right now that is just story.
Right.
And I could give you a whole litany, and if we had all night, I could tell you the whole 9 yards. But I won't. Read the book, The Fearless Factor. It's got everything in it.
Yeah.
So, but make that choice right now that today you will be different, that you will make a choice to be different, and that tomorrow, whatever tomorrow brings, is not based on what happened in the past.
Right.
That this is your moment of choice.
Right. And at any given time, we can redefine who we are.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all look to our past as defining who we are. I come from Queens, and I couldn't wait to move to Manhattan, get out. And I could have let Queens define me and my past and, you know, everything about it and the dysfunctional family that I grew up with. But through whatever my means of change were, and there was many different modalities, it doesn't define me. I define me.
Right.
And every day I get up and go out in the world defines me.
Yeah.
And how I be in the world and how I show up in the world.
It's about getting conscious. And, you know, we could get spiritual here, but it really is about waking up. Waking up to you. Waking up to the life you lead, and waking up to what you wish to manifest in this world. Now, I'm not a big believer of, you know, the laws of attraction and so forth, but I do believe that when you get really clear and focused with who you are and what you want out of the world actually delivers it. There's no conspiracy out there to stop you from getting it. We don't come from a universe of lack, even though it might feel like it in this economic climate.
Yes, right.
We do live in an abundant world, and I totally get that. But you have to make that abundance for yourself.
So, where can they find out about you and learn all more about the Fearless Factor? Give us your website.
Well, you can go to www.thefearlessfactor.com, which is my main website, and you can also go to www, wait a minute, too many W's, fearlessfactorsuccess.com. That's fearlessfactorsuccess.com. And there's a whole bunch of materials on there. You can listen to audios, videos, and you can also grab a free copy of The Fearless Factor on the Fearless Factor Success website. But go and poke around, thefearlessfactor.com, fearlessfactorsuccess.com, and drop me a note. I always love to hear from people.
Well, thank you, Jacqueline, for coming. And I know time goes so quickly. I wanted to make sure I got in a thank you for being here and being my guest. It's been fun and really enjoyable, and I hope everybody out there is taken a few tidbits away with them.
I hope so.
I hope so. So
I
thank
hope so.
you
well,
very,
thank you
very
for having
much.
me. I really appreciate being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.